Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
About 5 years ago, my wife and I adopted a cat from a lady that the lady passed away, and her niece was in charge of rehoming her animals. And I was out of town on a gig, but my wife went to get this cat, and she was talking to the lady, and it turns out that she had been a line producer on The Apprentice.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
And this is a couple of years before we were enlightened to the Stephanie Miller Show. So, but everything that you've been saying that we've heard you say on the show, we heard from this lady, like, a couple of years before that. So the exact same stuff you've been saying. Like, I guess Ivanka was tapping her finger on the table one day and looked at this lady and said, "Coffee." And she said, "I'm a line producer. I don't do that," and walked out.
Wow.
But she said they're very ignorant and demanding and whatever. Everything you've been saying.
Guess who had to go get the coffee?
That was you.
That'd be Noel.
You?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Trace. Yeah, you were saying you were in charge of specifically Ivanka.
Yeah, at the end, at the beginning, I said it was a lark and I was doing it for a friend. And then what my role was in live TV, just so people know, is I kind of handled the difficult talent, so to speak, or the ones that producers were worried about. So if you're doing the VMAs, I would get Madonna, like, not to diss Madonna, but I was getting, I had diplomatic skills, let's just put it that way. Okay. So they'd be like, give her to Noel. So I think 3 seasons in, Ivanka became the queen of that show. They fired the old guy who was the sidekick, or got him off the show. Right. In the beginning, they had this kind of charming old guy, and then Ivanka took over, and I had to deal with Ivanka, and I hated it because the rest of my crew, my colleagues would have a 5 o'clock call time. I'd be there at noon to meet Ivanka's trailer in the basement. We shot it at the end. We shot at the Museum of Natural History, and she had, like, talk about a double wide. You thought Will Smith was in there. She was the only one to get a trailer. It was super long, and she would have a 10-person glam squad show up 5 hours before her call time, and I would have to meet them to let them into a trailer. And I'd be sitting there like, what happened to my life that I'm sitting here waiting for?
But
I'm 40 years old.
You always talk about that baby doll voice. It's not even real. It's only for her father. Like, that whole family is just a fraud, right?
It's a complete fraud. She speaks like a sailor in real life. Her voice is an octave lower, and she curses, and then she sees her dad, and she puts on the sibilant S, soft, gooey voice. That's what she does. She manipulates him to get her way.
Yep.
I told people from the beginning, Jared and Ivanka are who you really need to worry about. They're pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah, if you have ever looked at another human being and just yelled coffee in your life, you are a douche nozzle forever. Yeah. you are a douche canoe until you die.
Let me tell you one story for that.
Oh, yes, please.
The guy who did transportation on that show was a friend of mine, and the first day he had to deal with Don Jr., he had the car show up and he was right there, so he opened the door for Don Jr. to get in the SUV or whatever, and Don Jr. goes, "I can open my own door, bro."
Oh, God. Really?
Also, douche, douche canoe.
He's the kind of guy.
He's like a douche cruise ship.
The Dalai Lama would want to punch him in the face.
By the way, we've been talking about mainstream media coverage. Nolan, you tweeted some mainstream media news program should be doing a daily segment on climate change toll on our planet and the loss of life, much like Today in Vietnam was covered every night back in the day. It was the nightly body bag count that turned public opinion and woke people up to the horrors of a BS war. And you're right, they're too busy still with the Trump stuff, right?
Because the Trump stuff sells, and it's not to say it isn't important. It's extremely important, but so is massive flooding in Beijing that we saw yesterday that you did not see much of on the nightly news programs. They're all doing hours and hours on Trump's legal predicament because it pays the bills, and I get that. But, climate change is more of an existential threat than Trumpism.
Yeah, well, I mean, stopping fascism, saving democracy, also really important. But you wrote a whole piece, it's the burning planet, stupid. I mean, Phoenix sizzled through its 31st consecutive day of at least 110 degrees. Other parts of the country grappled with record temperatures after a week that saw significant portions of the U.S. population subject to extreme heat. July, scientists calculate, will be the hottest month ever recorded, and likely the warmest human civilization has seen. And then we had, again, massive wildfires out here in California. Hang on, hold please. Oh, Burbank, here.
That's right here.
The summer heat may have been responsible for some unusual behavior in the animal kingdom. Police responded to a report of a bear sighting in a residential neighborhood and found the animal sitting in a jacuzzi behind one of the... Stupid bear! You know, you're going to be even hotter if you take a jacuzzi. What's wrong with you?
You need a picnic basket.
I just wanted to say now a story about a bear.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, no, I mean, it's like every other issue we talk about because we have one party that's become the dumbass party. And you know, it's called summer. GOP brushes off record heat wave. I mean, here we go again, right?
Right. And when you sort of take a step back and look at that, part of the distraction and the chaos that Trump and these GOP trolls deliver, it's a wonderful boon for the oil and gas industry and the Koch brothers and the guys that fund these campaigns and the Federalist Society, you know, that's owning the Supreme Court. They want to keep doing business as usual. And the easiest way to do that is to have this big chaotic GOP that ignores climate change. And to play into what they want is the mainstream media not focusing more on climate change, let alone making those two connections. And a lot of mainstream media is scared to make that connection because oil companies are paying the bills on MSNBC and CNN and every other network.
And we went through this anti-science nonsense with COVID, and now we just seeing stories that COVID is starting to spike back up again. And it's... You know, but as we just said, hottest month-long stretch in 120,000 years. Nearly 200 million people, 60% of the U.S. population, are currently under an extreme heat or flood advisory. And here we come with Senator Football McDump, Tommy Tuberville, saying there's a very scientific word for this. It's called summer. It's no hotter right now than it's ever been. I've been in this heat all my life in July and August as a football coach. The world's not heating up. Come on. I mean, they are just the ignoring science party.
Absolutely. And they're influencing millions and millions of Americans who aren't willing to change their habits. And that is extremely dangerous. I got a neighbor. My town has 4-acre zoning, right? So everybody's got a really big yard. This guy has a professional lawn service come on Friday. Then he spends every other day on his own lawnmower mowing 4 acres for no reason, putting carbon monoxide into the air. We got to get people to change their habits. And you know, we got to do it.
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine. I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.